Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Today's guest is a guy whose passion for Volkswagens goes back to sneaking out of church to watch What You Gonna Do, Brother? Hulk Hogan. What's cool about that is, he lives right here in Clearwater, and his bar's 20 minutes from my house, right?
Really?
I've met Terry probably 30 times in my life. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you. So I just wanted to share that, though, because I thought it was kind of cool to see that in your past, sneaking out of church to watch Hulk Hogan. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. That guy's right up the road from me. So he taught himself how to drive a stick on a VW Rabbit, I believe, when he was 12. He's now the president of VW Enthusiasts of Colorado. He's a community leader, and he's a man who let Jesus take the wheel and says he built his current hot rod he's driving now. Let's welcome to the podcast, Mr. Grant Aslin. What's up, my brother?
Hey, Joe. Thank you so much, man. That was an awesome intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Of course. This is all about you, man. We're celebrating you. You got some pretty awesome accomplishments in the VW community. So when I say I want to connect with guys like you and guys that are in, and women in the Volkswagen community, this is exemplary. This is exactly who I'm looking for. Before we dive into some really awesome questions and a great episode, I do have a couple of sponsors that I want to shout out. Number one, Volksmania magazine, the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. If you are a U.S. subscriber, you can use DubLife 10. That's DUBLIFE, the number 10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your first subscription. www.volksmania.com. Check them out. Also, this episode is sponsored by Salty Dub. Now, one thing I want to mention this time is that we started a new group with Salty Dub on Facebook called Salty Dubbers. All right, Salty Dubbers, all one word. This is a nationwide gang of air-cooled addicts, classic VW dreamers, road trip warriors, rust whisperers, beachside cruisers. It don't matter if you're in a slam bug, a faded bus, or a pristine squareback. You've got some folks that are just like you here in this group. So check these guys out, www.saltydub.com. And again, that group on Facebook is Salty Dubbers. Last shout out, my buddy Dino Styles, Dino's Garage, DC Metro. Obviously, thank you for your support of the podcast. And if you're in the market for a Volkswagen mechanic, they say everybody needs a good Volkswagen mechanic. If you're in the DC metro area, check out Dino's Garage. Okay, my friend Grant, back to you, my brother, back to you. So, dude, tell me, how the hell did Volkswagens catch such a grip on you? Because they seem to be locked in on you.
Joe, I don't know if it was because they were so popular when I was a kid, or if it was the shape, or if it was just a family thing, but Volkswagen make has always been my favorite car. My dad was a GM guy. My grandpa was a GM guy. Volkswagens were always part of the ensemble between somebody in the family.
Yeah, those stories seem to run, back with us, those of us that are in the community. I also had an infatuation with them since, really before I could remember, meaning the shape or the just the vibe of them. I just liked them, right? So when I was in 96, when I was 16, 17, to buy one and make it one of my daily drivers, people around me were like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why would you want to drive that car? And you could have a Honda Civic in 96, I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't hit the same for me. So I totally get that, man. I totally get that. Tell me about your upbringing though, because you mentioned the family. I noted 5 brothers and sisters. You mentioned a carpet business, a body shop. What was the childhood like?
So came from a pretty big family, Joe. I'm the middle child of 5 kids. I have every sibling you could want, except for a twin. I have an older brother, Brandon Aslin, my older sister, Megan. Then there's me, my little sister, Leah, and then my little brother, Reed.
Big
Mom and
fan.
dad were married for many, many years. My mom's dad, Gus Gross, was a first generation German immigrant, and he was a body man. He had a body shop in Colorado Springs, Gus's Body Shop. When he retired and shut the shop down, he went to work as a teacher, an auto body teacher at Pikes Peak Community College.
Oh, cool, man.
He called it.
That's awesome. And I when you just said that, I can envision it because I've got history in Colorado Springs. So man, that's just such a cool thing. Such a cool vibe.
My mom's brother as well, Randy Gross, had Randy's Body Shop in the Springs right off Nevada Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
He specialized working on Corvettes and fiberglass, and he had many Volkswagens. He had a dune buggy that I remember, an orange one, and Uncle Randy always had a VW Caddy truck at his body shop that he used as a shop truck.
Ooh, I love those.
Had at least one Caddy truck sitting around.
I love those when they're slammed and stanced out. Those are such a good looking little car, little truck to me.
My personal favorite Volkswagen is a VW Caddy truck.
Is it really? Okay, cool, man. So tell me, man, out of your childhood coming up, when did the VW obsession really start for you?
Young. It was, one of the first loves of my life. They were just a passion, Joe. Looking at the magazines, looking at the pictures, looking at all the different styles. Back in the 80s and the 90s, the hot VWs, VW trends. My uncles had a body shop, like I said, Randy's Body Shop, and there were stacks of magazines in the body shop. And my cousin, who was a month younger than I, Scott Gross, was my best friend. We hung out in the body shop a lot. It was super, super fun. And not only were there Corvettes around, which are really cool, there was always Volkswagens sitting around.
You mentioned the magazine. Do you remember the first VW magazine that you ever bought with your own money?
I want to say it was probably a VW Trends magazine.
Okay.
When I was a younger kid, VW Trends was definitely my favorite magazine, and probably the first magazine, like grown-up magazine, that I subscribed to, other than Ranger Rick when I was a little boy.
Or how about Mad Magazine? Remember that?
So my dad brought me up on Mad Magazine. So
I remember the back cover. You could fold it into different.
100%. I loved it. Yeah.
Too.
I I love Mad Magazine. I spent a lot. I have asthma, and when I was a kid, when I was an adolescent, I spent some time in the hospital for it. And magazines were a big escape for me there too. And so Mad Magazine and Volkswagen magazines were the ones that I looked at pretty much exclusively.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now the siblings, there was many of them. Was this just a you thing, or was your family, your brothers and sisters into VWs as well back then as a kid?
So back then, it was pretty much a me thing.
Okay.
My older siblings and my little sister definitely not really into cars like I was. My older brother did have a Volkswagen Rabbit. That was his first vehicle, a 1978 Volkswagen Rabbit diesel. That's the first car I ever drove when I was 12 years old. I joyrided it up the street.
Yeah.
I didn't have any siblings growing up that were into VWs. My little brother, Joe, is 10 years younger than me. He was kind of a surprise. And because of that, I was able to maybe mold Reed a little bit. Reed hung out quite a bit with me, and Reed and I share a lot of the same loves in life. His first car was a Volkswagen Rabbit, a 72 Super, an orange one. He's always had a Volkswagen Beetle.
The Rabbit, though, that 78, that was the car that trained you, right? That was the car you drove, like you said it, at 12. 12's young. I learned how to drive a stick when I was 14, and I thought that was pretty young. So to hear 12, all right, man, you got me there. But I want to hear a little more about that. Like what happened that day? You said you went to Joyride?
Percent honest, I'm not exactly sure on the date. It could be 11, but I didn't want to say it. I didn't want it to sound absolutely unreal.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No,
when I was a young kid, here's how it happened. I'm super into the WWF. I love Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man.
Oh, dude, so cool.
the WWF comes on at 10 and is on till 11. Well, we don't get home from church as a family until 10:30, and I end up missing the first 30 minutes of the WWF, and it's kind of heartbreaking for me. I'm going to be honest. And so I talked to my mom and dad about it, and I end up working out a deal with my mom that I can stay home from church on Sunday, and she takes me to the youth group on Wednesday.
Professional sales right there, my friend. Professional
It was
sales.
a fantastic deal. And honestly, because I was the young kid in the youth group, most of the kids in the youth group were a year, at least a year or two older than me. Not many of them were like sixth graders. And so it was cool. And I also got to stay home and be mischievous while the rest of the family was gone on Sundays. And like I said, I was part of a big family. I had a little sister, two older siblings, my parents. It was a community at the house, not a whole lot of alone time. And I got to drive my little brother's Rabbit around, or my older brother, rather. One day, I decide I'm going to take the Rabbit out. My brother parked his Rabbit in the rocks next to the house. I know kind of how the shift works. I know you got to push the shifter down and forward to get it into reverse. I know how a clutch works because I grew up around body shops and kind of moving cars around and riding mini bikes that my grandpa and my uncle built, and my cousin raced go-karts and shifter carts. So I knew the concept of a pedal. I put the Rabbit in reverse. I start the car. I get it out and kind of back it up eventually into the street and try and get it into first, Joe. And getting it into first wasn't as easy. I was just kind of, when you're trying to get a car going and you don't know how it's, I'm shaking in the car and the car won't go into gear. And I was sitting there sweating in that Rabbit in the middle of the street, thinking the neighbors were watching me, that I was definitely going to get busted, not be able to move the car, and my whole family would be pulling in from church and the Rabbit would be sitting in the street. But one thing about me, Joe, is I'm persistent. And so I just sat there and I worked that. I was like, well, it's either I figure it out or I'm busted. And eventually, I don't know how long it took me, Joe, 5, 10 minutes, 10 tries, 15 tries. But eventually I got that Rabbit into first gear.
Okay.
I scooted it up the hill. And I don't know how far I went the first time, maybe just up the block and around the corner. But eventually I managed to gain some confidence behind the wheel. And I was pretty little, but I would take my brother's Rabbit up to the corner, get out, walk across to 7-Eleven, get a Jolly Rancher for 10 or 15 cents.
Yeah.
Take the Rabbit back home.
Bazooka gum for 5 cents.
100% Bazooka Joe was a big thing.
Yes.
It was a bottom level 7-Eleven event.
It sure was. I remember those. They remember when they used to individually sell Rolos wrapped in gold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
they would have like a bucket of them on the counter.
Remember the Slurpee used to come with a toy that they would put in with their fingers?
I don't remember that, but I remember Slurpees having like baseball cards on the bottom.
Yeah,
like,
I remember those
and stuff. Yeah.
I remember those. Back in the day, I remember probably 82, 83, out on St. Pete Beach, that 7-Eleven out there. They used to put like, the little spiders or the, little plastic toys. And they like a Cracker Jack box, basically. And they would throw it in the bottom of the cup and they'd fill your Slurpee up.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't think that didn't pass health code for much longer, I can imagine.
I had a Slurpee addiction, Joe, for years. I pretty much just lived off Slurpees and beef jerky from 7-Eleven.
What was the favorite flavor of Slurpee?
Coke.
Mine was wild cherry at the bottom, Coke on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that. I think I did it the opposite though. Coke on the bottom and a little cherry on top.
Yeah, dude. Your little brother. I know he caught the bug, I know you kind of already explained, that, but talk to me about his group that he runs right now. EPDC, is that Eastern Plains Dub Club?
Correct, Joe. Eastern Plains Dub Club. My little brother, Grant Aslin, and a guy named Dustin Blair, 2015. Eastern Plains Dub Club were the big guys in town for a lot of years. Reed and Dustin did events. They showed up. at a lot of places. They did cruises for a long time. The last couple years, Reed and Dustin, they had families and young kids. My little brother Reed has a 6-year-old. The last couple years, life happens, family happens. Not so many events coming out of Eastern Plains Dub Club, but those guys are awesome and I love them. Of course, Dustin's one of my best friends. Shout out to Dustin Blair, Colorado Die Cuts. Love you, brother. And my little brother Reed, Cramp Campers with K's on Instagram.
Awesome. Good shout out. Let's talk about the Beetle. What's your take on the Beetle being a true cultural connector?
I think it's the shape. I think it's the value. I think it's how many that were around when we were younger, Joe. They're kind of getting rare and rarer every year, it seems. You don't see as many of them on the road. So it makes them more nostalgic even.
Right.
The ones that are around. I mean, there's not a whole lot of 60-year-old cars, 70-year-old cars running around, especially in large groups.
Right.
Nowadays, and Volkswagen guys run in groups usually. And so I think that's a big cultural connector is everybody loves them too. Volkswagens are the people's car, guys. They were sold all over the world. They were sold in countries like Mexico and Brazil and in countries where they didn't have the ability to buy cars like we did in America. Everybody loves VWs, man.
Everybody loves them. Everybody's got a story about them. Everywhere I go, I'm sure everywhere you go, especially if it's somewhere new, they see your car and they say, "Oh, that's just like the one that that girlfriend had in high school." Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, you just kind of wave and people are telling their stories everywhere. Again, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this podcast. I want to hear those stories from those people that ended up, falling in love with the cars when they were in high school, like me, and then, having a lifetime full of them.
Yeah, my little brother Reed Aslin definitely caught the bug. He wanted to hang out a lot when he was younger, and I let him. My older brother Brandon's 7 years older than me. Lucky for that, because I was driving his car around. I found a fake ID in the glove box of that Rabbit, Joe, and it was my older brother. He was already 21, so I swiped it. I ended up making fake IDs for myself. I mean, that Rabbit was a gold mine for me in so many ways. My older brother really didn't let me hang out with him. I hung out with him maybe once that I remember. I was thinking back. Well, it was a different story between me and Reed. Reed wanted to hang out and I always let him hang. Reed was part of the crew. I always had VW magazines sitting on the floor, Joe. My house was like Pee Wee's Playhouse. That's why I decorated it like this. I got stuff everywhere. I got magazine, there's stuff to be entertained with. And Reed was entertained by the VW magazines. I didn't own a VW. I wanted one. I had a VW patch on my hat when I was 15 years old till the time I was 20. I was wearing that Yankees hat with the VW patch. I always wanted one. I saw myself as a VW guy. The guys who drove VWs were the cool guys in school that I wanted to be friends with.
Yes, dude. I relate to that.
Buddy Josh Hoyer, shout out to you, bro. You have the coolest Mark I Scirocco in Overland High School, and I wanted to be friends with him. And I ended up being in a class with him in high school, a physics class. He was my partner, and I rode in his Scirocco. Man, I wanted to be a Volkswagen guy. I wanted to be my brother's first car, 72 Super Beetle, orange one. Growing up, looking at magazines, Joe, so fine interiors. You would see their ad in all the VW magazines. I'm 24, 25. My little brother gets his first car, and I had arrived at the time. I was making some money. I drive my car. I had a Buick Regal GS. I drove my Buick up to So Fine Interiors and custom ordered a custom interior for my little brother's Volkswagen.
So sweet, man. So cool.
I remember paying $500 cash for it, plus tax. I think it was $525, something like that. I still have that interior. It's got a couple cigarette burns in it from but I still have that interior, has my name written on it from when the guys made it. I'm stoked. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, man. Let's fast forward just a little bit. The 2017 Golf. You named the Golf Gus, and I know this was after your grandfather, which you kind of mentioned just a little bit ago, but tell me a little bit of a deeper dive in the story behind that car.
Okay, so my grandpa Gus was a body man. He had Gus's body shop. He also taught auto body at Pikes Peak Community College. He was a first generation American from Germany. If you've seen the movie Inglourious Bastards, unit patch that Brad Pitt wears. That was my grandpa's unit in World War II. He was a paratrooper. He was airborne. He was a bad dude.
Dude.
When he got out of the army, he married my grandmother. The day before he left, he was all over Europe killing Nazis. And when he came back, he started a body shop. We hung out there when we were kids. We hung out at my uncle's body shop. My dad's parents died when they were young from alcoholism, so my grandpa was the patriarch of the family. He was mostly into GMs, but he was a German. And so when my older brother got his first car, it was a Volkswagen Rabbit diesel that was a wreck. It was a salvage title vehicle. They rebuilt it at Pikes Peak Community College. It was a $400 car that was painted like a Porsche. It was a beautiful metallic green. I remember when my grandpa dropped it off at our house, he was so proud of that Rabbit. And he said to my brother, there's no other Rabbits that are that color. They only came in 4 colors. And that wasn't metallic, beautiful green. It was an awesome car, and I get emotional thinking about it, because that's the first car I drove, and it's just such a connection to the house. My grandpa, Gustav Gross, what an awesome guy. He believed in Jesus. He also believed in aliens. He was a crazy dude, but he was awesome.
That was great. That was so awesome.
He would tell you stories, Joe. He would tell you stories, and he was a great guy. So I bought that 2017 Mark 7 Golf in 2020. I was working in the restaurant business for 30 years. I'd worked for Ruth's Chris, and the restaurant shut down because of the lockdowns. I ended up going to work for a buddy from church who I met through the restaurants in church who had a cabinet company. I was making unemployment, and I was doing some cabinets on the side. And I ended up having a little bit of money, and I was looking for a car, and my ideal car was a GTI Mark 7. I mean, I'm a Volkswagen guy. I'm going to buy a car. I want a GTI. My brother had a GTI. I'm a Volkswagen guy, Jeff. You don't need me to explain why I want a Volkswagen GTI.
No need, my friend.
On the internet, I'm looking, I'm searching. I don't have a whole lot of money, and I see this one pop up, and it's a salvage title, but it's pretty clean. And this is the type of cars I grew up with. We drove salvage title cars. We drove wrecks that were fixed. There's character to that. They were all good cars, Joe. They just were banged up.
I want to touch on that because, I grew up being taught from like friends that were in the car business, like, hey, you avoid salvage titles. You're not going to be able to get the same insurance, and you're not going to just avoid them. Don't look. So I always think that it's cool when somebody finds a niche in something like that and then has a why behind it. So what's the why behind the salvage titles? You're pretty much explaining it. They were great cars. Did your family rebuild these cars?
Yeah, my grandpa did. My uncle did. Always rebuilt by my grandpa. And there would always be a couple bolts left over.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. That's like a model when you're putting it together. You follow the instructions perfectly, and you look down and you're like, huh, well, where'd those parts go?
I had a model of a pre-67 Volkswagen Beetle, a green one that was from like Costco or something years and years and years ago. Got it for Christmas when I was 15, a green one. I melted the suspension, slammed it, painted the doors two-tone white, made a custom antenna, carved a frame, a little orange 76 ball. And it was like part of my shelf life, like my dream car, Joe, for many, for decades that model car sat there all throughout my teens and 20s.
Amazing. You dreamed it into existence. So back to the 2017, you said it's the nicest car you've ever owned. You drive it off into the sunset one day. Tell me why it means so much to you.
It's a salvage title car. It's beautiful blue. It drives really nice. It's not a GTI. I didn't get a GTI, but it's a hard loaded Golf.
Okay.
It has leather. It has heated seats. It has a sunroof. It has Apple CarPlay. It has a touch screen. It has a banging sound system in it from Fender from the factory.
Sweet.
It goes fast. It has a DSG transmission. It goes real fast, Joe. I don't want to say that I I do 100 miles an hour every day when I get in. It's just so fun. I
Yeah.
got it with 33,000 miles. I paid
Oh,
8 grand cash for the car.
wow,
Uh,
man.
it's got 102,000 now. I just turned 102. The only thing I've done is a thermostat. It's such an awesome car. I love it.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And
So
I've banged it up since then. I've wrecked pretty much every other corner of it. I was just pulling out the fender. It's been smashed up and it doesn't matter, paint it again, put it back together. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, that was a good point. It doesn't matter. A lot of folks they that's when they discard their cars is when they start getting banged up and dented. When you know how to work on them and you can, replace fenders and bumpers and all that stuff. I mean, what a privilege. You can keep the cars that you love around you forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I agree.
So let's touch on this miracle money. I want everybody to hear this because I know at some point in your background you had talked about a time that you needed money that you got some, we called it miracle money, right, from your best friend. What went through your mind at that time when you were in a place like that and you got money like that?
Joe, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm a believer in Jesus and things like that. And when you hang out in church as much as I do, you might hear stories about checks arriving in the mail and God just showing up and dreams coming true and things happening. And I've always believed in that and I've always had faith in Jesus no matter what. And so several years ago, I got a check in the mail from my best friend. We grew up. I met him in the third grade. In third grade, he knew exactly what he was going to do in life. He was going to be a concert promoter. He asked me what I was going to be, and I said, I don't know. He had explained to me what he was going to be. He explained to me what a concert promoter was. He knew at a young age what he was going to do in life.
Pretty cool.
The next year in fourth grade, we became best friends. Garbage Pail Kids arrived. We were hanging
Oh,
out
yeah, buddy.
at the WWF, and him and I just really, really connected. We were best
Beavis,
friends.
Beavis and Butthead to shortly follow.
Yeah, for sure. Um, we started a band in high school. He's a drummer. I was a singer. I played bass guitar. And when we were freshmen in high school, we started a high school band. We voted the best high school band in Denver from Westward Magazine when we were a little bit older. We may or may not have stuffed the ballot box to get that title. But we did shows here in town to promote the band. And Dan ended up going to school in Oregon. Here in Denver, the business wasn't super successful. It was successful, but not to the point that it was when he moved to Oregon. There wasn't a lot of other promoters doing shows, and the company really blew up in the early 2000s when he moved to Oregon to go to the University of Oregon. So the concert community, the promoter community in Denver, there was a lot of promoters and not a huge market. There was a lot of guys that were willing to lose money to do a show, it seemed like. And so we couldn't afford that same. People were fighting for talent. In Oregon, it wasn't like that. There was just Dan and one other guy, and he teamed up with him. Instead of fighting him, he teamed up with them, and they became the power. They did all the shows.
Yeah.
Dan was a better promoter, and that guy had the name, and so the company really took off. Dan kept doing shows out in Dan Steinberg. Shout out to Dan Steinberg, Emporium Presents. I love you, bro. He had a huge podcast, Promoter 101. Dan Steinberg, he's a legend, bro. He's a legend, Joe. He's my best friend, and I got a check in the mail from him one day, and I didn't honestly expect it. I probably honestly shouldn't talk that much about it, but
What was it? What was it for?
Shocked.
What was it for?
Dan sold the company. We kind of started the company here in Denver, Joe. I walked away because I was doing my own thing and I was making a lot of money.
Okay.
And it was the concert thing. I was the face of the I walked around. I shook hands with Talon and I hung out, but it was Dan's baby. We started doing raves. We did raves. We had so much fun, but it was Dan's baby. When Dan sold the company for lots of money, he's a gentleman and he's a generous dude.
Yeah, dude.
One day he
Enough
decided
said. So awesome.
to throw some cash at his best friend. And honestly, I think it was probably to help me out with some bills. I don't know. He didn't say, but when I called him, I get a check in the mail, Joe, and I'm surprised by it. I call my best friend like, hey, Dan, hey, and he really doesn't say much about it. He just says, buy whatever you want or do whatever you want with it. And so I wanted to buy a Volkswagen. And
Yes.
I I honestly, Joe, the first thing I did, I'm also into mini bikes. I grew up riding Puch mini bikes, Austrian mini bikes. I had an old Puch that was a beater. I sold that beater and I bought the Puch I always wanted for it was a $500 deal from what I sold my bike for and bought the one I bought. And I got the sweetest Puch I ever got, a lowrider green Puch 76, and it's beautiful. It's
Nice.
tuned and ripped, and it'll do 50 miles an hour. I love it. That's the
Damn.
first thing I did with the money, and honestly, it was like $500. It wasn't much.
Yeah, sweet.
But then I had my eye to the street for a caddy or a rabbit. Honestly, I love bugs. I had a bug model. I love beetles, but ideally, I wanted a green rabbit because that's the first car I ever drove. So that was my dream, was to find a green rabbit. But I was looking around and the car people see behind you, Joe, a vehicle that looked very similar to that, maybe not in that condition, but popped up on air cooled for sale in Colorado one Saturday. And it was at a great price, Joe. And I was working at Ruth's Chris. My little brother sends me a message with a picture of that car. And I was like, oh man, that's my car. It's my colors. I love it. It's slammed already. So I called the guy and messaged him and told him I was interested. And it was a Saturday night late, about 10:30 when I got off work. I called him, a gentleman named Mike Bishop. I told him I'd be calling him in the morning, first thing. Joe, the next morning, first thing was 6:30 for me. And I called Mike Bishop and he said he was up and I said I was heading his way. He was half an hour across town. I did 140 miles an hour. And I got to Golden in about 21 minutes time. And when I pulled up, Joe, a guy behind me in a Volkswagen bay window pulling a Beetle was right behind me. And I waved at him and said, sorry, the car's already sold.
Taking ownership, baby, as soon as I get there.
I bought that. I bought that Volkswagen Beetle sitting behind you with part of the money. I took it for a short test drive. The next day I went on the Monday to bring the check and take the car home. And when I got home, Mike Bishop called me, or I called him, and I don't think he expected the car to make it all the way to my house. He sounded surprised. He's like, did you make it home? And I did, Joe. I don't think he had the trust in that Beetle that I had in it from the start.
Yeah.
But I always had trust in that car. It made it across town. It was looking rough. It wasn't as shiny as it is. It didn't have bumpers. It had a pretty nice interior.
This is the 65, right?
Yeah, the one sitting behind you. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Just making sure.
It's been buffed out since then. I've kind of went through the whole car. I bought bumpers for it first, redid all the brakes, redid the engine and carbs, and now the engine's been done again because there wasn't an engine bay seal in that car, and it was overheating. First year I got it quite a bit. I made buddies with a bunch of guys in town. You know how tight the VW community is.
Oh yeah. And some of them are always super highly skilled mechanics.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, dang, thanks. I love the community, man. Nothing better.
Honestly, the car, when I got it, was a really great start. I loved it, and it's my favorite colors, green and orange wheels. I probably would never put orange wheels on a car if I built it, but Jesus built the car, and I love it, and it's just the way when I look at it behind you, it's perfect to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you elaborate on that though, because you say Jesus built your hot rod. Tell me exactly what you mean by that.
So this goes back to a song it's a band called Ministry from Chicago, Illinois. They're an industrial, hard rock band I was into in high school. I'm still into them. Al Jorgensen's the lead singer, and they had a song in the 90s when I was in high school, Jesus Built My Hot Rod. It's kind of a goofy song, but I believe in Jesus. And when I pray and, oh God, when I look, I feel like God built it. Mike Bishop actually built that car. A bunch of guys from Volkswagen Enthusiasts of Colorado.
Yeah.
Before I ever hung out, Joe, I got video of them slamming that car. They did a rough job, and it's been done better now. It was already lowered when I got it. I put some adjustable spring plates on the back. I didn't do it, but a guy who's living in Florida now, I met him at Volkswagen. I don't know how I think we probably met online, Joe. And Conrad and I met here in Denver. He was a mechanic at New Vintage here in town. New Vintage is a Volkswagen parts and repair shop. I met a guy online and we started hanging out. He's a mechanic and he did a lot of work on my car. He put that engine bay seal on, and when he did that, he honestly totally redid my engine without me knowing it for a present. That car.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome, man. That's
I wish I could send you some pictures of what my engine looked like when it was overheating, and it was pretty rough. Conrad said he's going to replace this engine bay seal and put my my adjustable spring plates on the rear.
Instead, he hooked you up.
I get the car back. The engine's totally redone and painted. And
oh, dude, man. How cool.
Yeah, cool guys, bro.
Yeah. Good work, Conrad. Good work.
He's living down in Florida right now. Conrad's Mobile Mechanic on Instagram.
Oh, yeah? What part of Florida? Do you know?
He's in the Miami area, I believe.
Okay.
Right?
I was just down in that area, just not too long ago. It's about 4 hours from me. I went down there. My son's a boxer. He did Golden Gloves in Fort Lauderdale. Good area, busy area, and a huge dub scene down there.
Have you seen the stretched out thing? The orange stretched out thing?
Yeah.
That guy's in his club.
The 6-door?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I just seen him.
Miami Dubs.
Yeah.
He hangs out with that club.
So something I saw on your Facebook when I was, doing my investigative approach was this Volkswagen's on the Green, which is where we're going to take the conversation now. The first time you rolled into Volkswagen's on the Green, tell me what that experience was like, because I seen the drone footage this year and all I got to say is, wow.
Thank you so much. Rolling into Volkswagens on the Green for the first year in 2023 was a little different. It was at a different spot.
Okay.
It was at this old airport south of town called the Everett Airport. So it was a different location, but same feel. It was more country and there was a lot of pine trees coming around. There was a big, long driveway pulling up. A big gang of about 25 of us were coming out from Southeast Denver and Aurora. The club that we kind of hang out, the group of guys. There's a few clubs, but honestly, it's a group of guys that all hang out. Eastern Plains Dub Club, Volkswagen Enthusiasts of Colorado.
Yeah.
We kind of get together. It's all the same stuff. So we have a group of about 25 guys that meet at a Walgreens, and we're rolling in to Volkswagens on the Green 28 in 2023. And there's this huge winding drive. I'm a little bit of a crazy driver, Joe. So I threw a couple red lights back in the country because I know there's no cops. Some of the other guys who are a little bit, more sissy wouldn't do stuff like that. So I ended up kind of in the front of the line, which is radical. I'm about 5 lines from the front of the group. There's some pictures that get taken when we're pulling in there from a guy named Aaron Childers that when I see, it is like a dream come true. There's a picture I could show you. It's like an S-turn. There's about 15 or 20 dubs lined up. My car is right smack in the middle of like the sweet spot in the photo. And I see the photo the next day and it's after the day before. I was like, I couldn't believe it. You get this nostalgia feeling like, wow, that's my car. I can't believe that this is such a beautiful shot. Thank you, Jesus. Like, how did this even happen?
Dude, I just went through that. I'm not taking your thunder, but I have to tell you how I relate to that. We just did the V-Dubs on the Pier show, and it was the first car show allowed back on the new St. Pete Pier since its new construction. Now they used to do buses on the pier and Type 1s and Types 2s on the pier and Beetles on the pier, and they used to, back in the 90s into the early 2000s. Anyway, me and my buddy Alan, we brought it back, and this year, was slow registrations at first, and then it started to create popularity online, and then it started to get busy. Then we started to really, pack it out. We had like 150 cars for our first year back that showed up this year. And when I saw the pictures from the pro photographers like 2-3 days after the event, that's when it hit me. I was like, yo.
I just got chill bumps so bad thinking about it. So that was the first shot. And then a day or two later, Aaron dumps all the photos from the show. and there's a picture of me in the front of the pack. I'm like single car, and there's two lines of cars like all behind me. There's like 10 cars in the shot. I'm like smiling. All the cars are behind me. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, man. And I had so much fun at that show. Conrad Quesada, shout out to you, Conrad _mobile_mechanic on Instagram, Miami V Dubs. Conrad and I were hanging out. We had met online, but at that event, we connected and we became best friends. Spud Hughes had some swap set up, and we were like taking photos with Conrad and Spud and my brother with like doors, and my brother was dressed up like Joe Dirt, and it was because my brother had a Joe Dirt Beetle. It was just like the funny, bro. It was I had the best day. It was my first big VW show, Volkswagens on the Green. My people, oh my gosh, the pictures the next day.
Yeah, bro. So this year, how many cars were there this year?
This year we had over 400. That year it was probably like 250.
Let's go.
Yeah, over 400 cars, Joe. I don't know. When I'm trying to look at drone footage to get a real number, and it says 400 to 450.
Yeah, I understand that feeling.
400. It's over 400. Which is amazing. We had 300 last year. We had 260 paid. So we had like 300 something last year, which is awesome.
Congratulations, man.
So when I was leaving this first VWs on the Green, I went to 2023 Volkswagens on the Green 28. The 28th year started in 1994, Joe. It's crazy how long the show's been happening.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a huge legacy, and to be part of it is like such an honor. It's a dream come true, bro. It's a dream come true. I can't even thank Jesus enough for it. I can't.
Yeah. So you have another passion, which is the VWEC, which I know is you're the president of this club, right?
Volkswagen Enthusiasts of Colorado.
Yeah.
Volkswagen Enthusiasts of Colorado member page on Facebook. So leaving that event, I'm leaving. I meet a guy who's got an orange smock on. His name is Sean Page. He's the president of VWEC at the time. I basically congratulate him. There's pictures of me too that somebody took of us meet, which are amazing too. I'm like literally connecting to that guy like, hey, bro, this is amazing. I had so much fun. A month or two later, however long it was later, I see a Facebook post pop up. Hey, from the club. Hey, we're looking for people to show up at a club meeting to help plan the next Volkswagens on the Green. I've been part of HOAs. I've been part of business meetings. I was honestly in part of the recovery community for a long time. I got sober and was part of AA and clubs like that. And I helped run and organize meetings. I started meetings, and it really gave me some experience running and organizing events in communities. Shout out to people getting sober. You're awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I show up at this meeting. Spud's there, a couple, old farts. We're talking about organizing Volkswagens on the Green 2024, number 29. I really start helping out. Sean Page, the president of the club, has had back surgery at the time. He's in a bad spot. He can't get out. He can't, So I kind of stepped up. I love doing events, and so I started putting on events. I put on a roller skate party. I run the HOA where I live, and I run the pool, and I throw a pool party every year. So I said, hey, can I throw a VW pool party? They're like, yeah, bro. I had a food truck with a VW on top of it. All my homies out here at the pool.
Oh, yeah.
Low rider ice cream truck. So much fun.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Had a cruise up to Bailey to the Coney Dog. We had a clinic at New Vintage where we did like a buyer's clinic, what to look for if you're buying an air cooled. It was on a weenie roast. We throw a lot of events. So much fun. And I love being creative. I love doing art and Facebook and social media. I love doing it, but it's just kind of a personal thing. And I'm helping run the club, and Bill, the treasurer and kind of the head honcho behind the club for the last few years. And I have kind of connected, and he's kind of showing me what to do. And I tell him, man, I hope I can be the president someday. That would be awesome, because it's like a dream come true, Joe. It's like, and he says to me, well, the president's the guy who acts like the president. Not only that, Joe, he says, I'm the treasurer. He says, and pretty soon you could be the treasurer too, and you could be in charge of the money. So that's even better. And honestly, it was like so flattering. Like, I don't care about the money, and honestly, I don't care about the title. It's just about the love. It's about getting out there and loving. it's a full-time job, definitely a part-timer. I put
For
in a
sure.
lot of work doing the events.
Yeah.
You know, if you've organized stuff,
Yeah.
it's so much work, Joe. And
Oh, dude, it's
and
nonstop. And I think you and I have a similar, I guess, personality in the aspect of pushing or forcing like a leadership role. So when I had a couple of opportunities recently in the last few years to take over V-dubs over the Skyway, which me and my buddy Alan stepped into a ride that had gone away post COVID, didn't come back. They tried to resurrect it. We came back for the 25th year and one convoy going over the Skyway Bridge, which was insane. The line was over 2 miles long. And then this pier show that we're working on also, since the mid 90s, it's been something. So there again, one of the reasons why Alan and I clicked is because he appreciates that about my personality. He's like, hey, I'm just going to let this guy do his thing. That's what it's evolved into for you as well, because you have a way about yourself, or you're just a get her done type.
hey,
So
I appreciate that. I'm not always, I'm pretty lazy most of the time. I feel like a job's nothing but work half the time. Something you love.
yeah,
It's I it's easier for me. This is definitely something I love, and it's a dream come true.
yeah,
The
that's awesome, man.
W's I have right now, Joe, the first two VWs I've ever personally owned. But I've been a VW guy my whole life, and to have all this happen so fast to where at the last VWs on the Green was an awesome event. I was showing up for the club, but I didn't have a title. My official title was the whipping boy. Just showed up and did whatever I want. I moved ramps. I did whatever needed to
Whatever
be
was
done.
needed. Yeah,
Yeah, bro, because that's part of it.
it
I
is.
love people. I don't care who you are. I'm just here to help, and let's just make it and get her done. And
That's it. See, get her done type. Told you.
he asked me, Bill asked me, "Hey, Grant, would you do the award ceremony last year?" And so my daughter Rylan, who was 10 at the time, and I, Miss Volkswagens on the Green, my daughter Rylan and I did the award ceremony, and it was so much fun passing out the awards to people and seeing how excited people were. And I was kind of maybe a little bit of a politician that year and going around shaking people's hand, vote for my car. I really wanted to win, Joe. I had done some work on my car and gotten it to a point. I didn't win anything at Volkswagens on the Green 28. And even though I thought my car was cool, it was super rough. But at the next year, like I had done a lot, not personally, but Conrad Quesada and Brian Butts and myself, watching them mostly, did a lot of work on that car. And it became tits, bro. It became tits. It was a daily driver you could rip, and it would do 80 miles an hour and was an inch
Oh
off the
yeah.
ground. I mean, bro, it's sick. I mean,
I love it. And I love custom as well. So, I know there's a couple sides of that fence, right? With the classic and custom. I really like these custom cars a lot. I've got a 74 thing. I want to slam it as low as it'll go, static at this point,
yes.
if I ever really, really want to do it the real awesome way, I'll put some, either some airbags or some type of, so I can really literally dump it and set it on the ground and then pull up a little bit so I can, limp away.
I ever get money like that, heck yeah, that's the dream. And there's guys in town that have air on their cars.
Yeah.
He drives and builds the dopest cars in town, per my opinion. Uno Moss and El Chapo are his two bugs that I love.
Oh, cool.
Those cars are the sickest bugs on air. You could see his.
I love that look,
My
man.
car's adjustable in the
Yeah.
front, in the
Right.
rear, but it's static.
Yeah.
That's what I can't afford, Joe.
Hey man, it's all good, man. It really is. Listen,
honestly,
my thing's not even lowered right now. So I get it. I need to do, in order to lower it, I've got to do a beam. And then if I'm going to do a beam, well, I might as well do the rest of the front end. Well, hold on. Now there's a couple of spots in the floors you got to fix, and then we got to do pour 15 on the floors. And then, well, hold on, there's another rust spot. So here's what I did. I said, you know what, man, I'm going to get some wheels, some empty slots. I got them used off of my buddy down here. They're beautiful. They look great, and I'm just gonna drive it and enjoy it. And that's what I do. It's got a 1600. It runs like a top. My wife's got a 71 Gia. She loves that. We're gonna customize that a bit, but Look, man, I totally get it. I feel like that's the love, that's the culture. I'm always working on those cars. I'm always going to put stuff into them, put money, but it's going to be bits and pieces, and it's going to be when I can afford to. I got 5 kids. You
My
want
car's
something?
low. I got a case from a guy, Eric Monroe, who's in the club, who I've become really good friends for, and all the parts for an engine. Another guy, Jeff Price, is going to help me build the engine. I want a Baja, honestly.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
couple dudes in town, and one of the guys, Brian Butts, I mentioned, that helped me do a lot of work on my car, carbs and brakes, and pretty much anything that needs to be done, he can do. He's a mobile mechanic. Brian has a 69 lifted bug, like class 11 style, and it's green. It's so beautiful, Joe. He can go up trails and run over anything.
Yeah, man, it's really cool.
I can't do that. I want to
Oh,
be able to do that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got this motor for free. Shout out to Eric Monroe. You're awesome, dude. I love you, bro. He's a big part of the VW community here in Colorado. He always shows up at events. Eric, he's got an awesome fastback, a bus, a sweet notch, and a sweet garage with a lift he lets me use. The dude's
Oh,
a
yeah, dude. Look, gotta love that. Gotta love I got a bad back, so I love it when they have the lift.
bro, and it's so close. It's a couple miles away. We put underglow on my car recently. All
Nice.
these guys just help each other out.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. Well, he told me one day at like the pool party, oh, I got a case of motor you can have. It's a bug motor. I don't need it. So I go over there one day to return a bouncy house he let me use for my grandson's birthday. And I was like, well, what about that motor? And I kind of put him on the spot. Well, guess what? He came out, he coughed it up and gave me, oh, here you go. Dude gave me a free motor. Met another guy.
Sweet.
Yeah, met another guy named Jeff Price that has the sweetest oval built out Casa or whatever, sweet speed bug oval that's going to help me build the motor. So all these gentlemen stepping up to help a broke guy like me.
Bro, that's the culture, man. That's
Yeah.
that's what I love so much about it. I want to go back to your kids because you were talking about your daughter helping you give the awards out. I know there's 2 daughters, 2 grandsons. What do the kids collectively think of VW life?
I think I can only really speak for myself. But
Okay.
seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, I just feel like who wouldn't want a pop who's part of a cool community, who's all the people are like, we all have kids and all the kids are friends. I've got a picture from last Father's Day, a little meet where all of our kids are around one of my homegirls, Sarah's bug. And dude, that picture, Joe, like that's what it's all about for me is like not the friends I've made, but it's a generational thing, bro. Like our kids are friends. And like I'll see Sarah and she's like, is Ryle in there? Like she doesn't even care about me. It's because her daughter's there and her daughter wants to see my daughter.
Love it.
I'm a graffiti artist. I do graffiti every day. I've been doing graffiti every day forever. I draw lunch bags for my daughter Rylan every day. I'll send her to school with a cool lunch bag that says has graffiti on it. Well, I did one after Volkswagens on the Green that said Volkswagens on the Green Queen. She kept that one, bro. She tosses that one is sitting on her dresser. So I feel like there's something special there. Yeah.
Hey, here in St. Pete, there's a local artist here, a family. They're brothers. They're also pretty well known for graffiti artists, but they're called the Vitale Bros. Vitale. They actually, I went to high school with Joey, which was one of the younger brothers. And as we grew up, I noticed they started doing murals all over town. And they're like one of the biggest and most popular mural artists here in town. And we have a shitload of murals in this town in St. Petersburg. You can look that up. But yeah, check those guys out. Real recognize real. They're great, talented artists, man. So I think you'd see some cool stuff there for sure. Yeah. All right. I got some rapid fire style question. Favorite VW model of all time? I think I know what it is, but go ahead.
I'm gonna have to go caddy truck.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Caddy truck. If I had to pick a water cooled Corrado.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Most overrated VW of all time. Most overrated.
Joe, I could sit here and think about this question forever, and I just don't. It's a trick question. There's no overrated VWs. They're all underrated. That's the appeal of these cars is they're underrated. You can buy one cheap, and then they drive forever.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I had to come up with like maybe Jesse's Jetta if he lost in Fast and Furious. Maybe that was Jesse's Jetta is like one of the dopest Volkswagens of all time.
Right.
So it can't be Jesse's. It's a trick question.
Okay. I'll take that. For you in your past, the worst clutch smell moment.
Oh man, it's probably the first time I ever drove, Joe. I was burning that clutch and that rabbit trying to figure her out. It might be one of the few times I've burned a clutch. Probably not, but I haven't replaced a lot of clutches in my life. I know how to drive, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learned at a young age.
Taught myself, and honestly, I taught myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
One mod that you'll never do.
I will never put one of those little air scoops on a hood or the little Buick fake vents on the side.
Okay. Colors. 2 colors that come up with you. You got to pick one. Java green or orange?
Java green for sure.
Java green for sure. All right. How about most underrated car culture city?
It's got to be Denver, bro. If you see the last Volkswagens on the green, you saw it.
I did. I'm coming.
Buddy Matt can shoot shot. Shout out to Matt Neal on Facebook and Matt_can_shoot on Instagram. I saw a video he shot of a meet out in Aurora Cars and Shakes. And it was so dope seeing my car from the sky that I just reached out to the guy and I was like, hey, bro, I put on a VW event. Would you mind coming out? And he's like, yeah. And last year he came out to Volkswagens on the green. And the next day when he dropped his vids, it just made my heart gush seeing him. He came out this year and shot a couple videos and the event was just massive.
Massive. It was so, I'm coming.
Thousands of people, bro.
I'm going to have my podcast set up out there next year. I'm coming.
You're talking about sponsors and how hard it is and trying to get sponsors. And we've got sponsors that have been on board for years, but it's hard getting new sponsors. And I got a couple new ones this year, which are awesome. Randy's Custom Builders out of Longmont. Shout out to Randy. Shout out to Ryan down at Castle Rock Tattoo and Laser Removal in Castle Rock. Those are my boys that I run with. And they sponsored the event this year, which is awesome. A lot of returning sponsors. Joe, we spent like $2,000 on toilets this year.
I know that feeling.
Money, bro. And we got thousands of people coming out poopy, and it cost $2,000.
Was that about 8? Did you get about 8 toilets for that?
Toilets. In all actuality, they were like full at the end of the day because there was a line at the toilets. You had to wait 10 minutes to pee. That's how popular the show was, bro.
That's a good problem to have.
At the toilet.
Yeah, that's a great problem to have.
Nobody complained.
Yeah.
Of course there's going to be complainers. And honestly, that's one of the things about throwing events that I learned this year. So dope, bro. Went off without a hitch. One guy complaining about people drinking beer in the park, which in that park is allowed.
That's
bro. If I'm an AA guy, bro, I'm not an alcoholic. I like to do drugs back in the day and I quit doing them. But I sat in AA meetings because I wanted to get clean. If there's always going to be somebody who's going to complain, like
you can't satisfy everybody. That's
2,000 people you're complaining about the one guy shooting tequila.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's have a fun time.
I think society as a whole has a general rule that you can't satisfy everybody.
Yeah. So
sometimes they run across, they come across our paths and, I like to yes them, which is yes. Thank you. Oh. Yes. I appreciate the feedback. Yes. Ooh. You got it. Yep. You're well heard. Gotcha. Thank you. Yes. That's it.
Bro.
Yes.
Get out of the way. Thank you.
All right. Cruise night or wrench night?
Wrench, bro, for sure. You can only cruise so long before you got a wrench, right? Wrenching's very important. And especially for a guy like me who's a shade tree mechanic, I'm not super mechanically inclined.
I'm not either.
Cousins were. My little brother is more than me. My dad was. So when my dad was doing brake jobs and stuff, I sat around and watched.
Yeah.
But I'm a dummy, bro. I don't like doing it. It's important. When we've done clinics, I love it, dude. You learn something.
You're right, though. It's important.
I watched my dad do brake jobs, and now I can do them. And before my dad died, when my mom's truck needed brake job, I was flattered when he brought her Buick over here and I could do brakes for my pop, you know?
Man,
Dude, my
full
older
circle.
brother was like, Dad taught you to do brakes? And I was like, no, I actually asked Dad how to do brakes because Dad was doing brakes one day. And I was like, hey, Pop, what you doing?
That's man.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you though. I'm not the most mechanically inclined, but it is a true, especially on these cars, you have to really understand them. Even if you're going to pay somebody else to do the work, you still need to know them because there's always going to be a little something going on. You're going to get stuck somewhere. So yeah, dude, I have to agree with you wholeheartedly. What's one thing that every VW car enthusiast needs to hear?
Jesus loves you, bro. Jesus loves you. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. One tool every VW person needs in their glove box. One tool.
Those little jump boxes.
A jump box.
Yeah, little, get one for $20-$30 on Amazon, bro. Save your ass.
What's a question that nobody really thinks of asking you, but everyone should know about Grant?
Just ask me how my day's going. Ask me if I need a hug. I love hugs, man.
That's awesome, man. Hugs, not drugs, my friends.
And honestly, dude, a good thing, Joe, is like I've had people in the past ask me, like, are you upset? Like in the past, that happened to me quite a bit. And I wasn't upset. And I think I just had like resting dick face, and lately, I've got the opposite where people are like, why are you smiling? And dude, I love that difference because I like to make people wonder, like, why I'm smiling, dude. It's just, I've got a lot to be happy about nowadays, man.
Oh man, what a great statement. And smiles are also contagious. Laughter and smiles are contagious. And on the science side, it requires less energy in your life for your face to be happy than it does to be angry. To be angry, it requires more energy. It fires more muscles in the face and it requires more energy. So when I say it's exhausting to be a dick,
Yeah,
I mean it. It's really true.
right out of you, bro. It sucks the life right out of you. Try being an asshole all day, man. And at the end of the day, how do you feel? Right?
Exactly. That's my point. Okay, so what's the biggest lesson you would say over your lifetime that Volkswagens and or the community has taught you?
The biggest lesson, dude, is no matter how down I am, if I go hop in my bug, I don't have to go 1 mile before somebody is smiling and waving at me and doesn't care how I'm feeling, just loves my car. I don't know. Bro, let it go. Let it go. God has a plan for your life. Like, let it go. And if you have a Beetle and you're down, just go hop in it, dude, and take a spin around the block, man. It won't be too long before you got a smile on your face.
Amazing. Any advice that you'd like to give anybody in the VW community or outside of it that might be thinking about getting into the VW community? Maybe they hear this episode and they're inspired by you out in Colorado, or maybe somebody's inspired to start shows because of what they just heard, from you. Any advice that you'd give somebody looking to get into this scene?
Yeah, if you're looking to get into the scene, we're always looking for volunteers and help. We throw club parties, and we're going to have one soon where we're going to start planning Volkswagens on the Green 31. This year was huge. Next year, even more people are going to want to be a part of it. So if you have a desire to be a part of the Volkswagen community, definitely hit up the Volkswagen Enthusiasts of Colorado member page. You can get on our website, go vwec.org. You can connect with us, you can volunteer and join up with a really huge group. There's 2,000 members. We have 400 cars at our show. We typically have at least 25 to 30 cars show up at all the events that I throw that are like feeder events, if not more. It's super fun and there's a lot of fun.
I want to come. I'm going to have the podcast set up next year for 31. I'm going to have the podcast out there. I can't miss that, man. Those drone shots, I got to be there. I got to see that. And I love Colorado, dude. It's my heart, I'm here. I'm born and raised here. But like I said in the beginning, I spent 12 years of my life there. 2 of my kids born there. My mom's down in Canyon City. My sister's in Denver. I've just got, many pieces of my life that are right there in Colorado Springs. So, flown out of that Denver airport.
Geography is a state of mind, Joe. If you can be happy anywhere, you can be happy anywhere.
That's right, brother.
If you visit Colorado, you will find out how amazingly spoiled we are here.
I'm coming, bro. That's the point. I'm coming.
Weather's beautiful. We got 300 days of sunshine. Sunshine. We do not have big bugs.
Any last shout outs or anything that you want to give for the podcast?
My little brother, Grant Aslin, if you're looking for a custom Hot Wheel made of your car, you can hit him up. He does custom Hot Wheels and they're sick. He sends them all over the country. Cramped Campers on Instagram with K's, Cramped Campers.
Okay.
Also, if you're looking for art of your car, my buddy Micah Claycamp, Micah Doodles, he's super awesome. This is my car and my poop that Micah did. Micah
cool, man.
Facebook. If you've heard of Cartoons Magazine, he's their lead drawer. He draws live for them every Monday. He's part of my car club. Micah Claycamp. He's awesome, guys. His art is fantastic. If you want to get a drawing done of your stuff, hit up Micah Doodles.
And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.